Hello and welcome to Sweet Spot DFS. This is a preview for the 2020 Travelers Championship. Before we get in the video, I like to remind everyone, like I do in every video, you can watch this video in a faster speed. If you're on desktop, go ahead, drag your mouse over the screen, over my face, wherever. You're going to find a gear icon somewhere down here. Drill down on that. You'll find playback speed. I recommend 1.5. You do you. Whatever is comfortable with your listening capabilities. On mobile, you'll see that in the top right corner. You'll find 3 dots that make a vertical line. Drill down on that, you'll find playback speed. Plus, I'll also have timestamps in the description so you can get to the parts of the video that you care about listening to or that just matter to you. So it's all about making life easier, and those are ways that we can do that. What do I do in preview videos? Well, I'll talk about the course. I'll talk about the history, the course history that golfers have here. We'll talk about recent form. Now this will be the 3rd tournament back from COVID, but it has kind of proven that golfers that were kind of hot prior to the COVID break are showing trends of kind of continuing on their heated pace. So we'll talk a little bit of recent form. We will also talk about swing stats, and we'll look at like the 2018 tournament, the 2019 tournament here. Look at the stats leading into the tournament to see if we can find some kind of trend that'll lead into success. And then we will also look at the 2020 spreadsheet and try to find some golfers that we like. Just kind of a quick preview of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into the course information. So you can find this if you go to the gcsaa.org and go to tournament fact sheets. You'll end up finding them like at the bottom down here. It'll bring you to this page. You can go find Travelers Championship. So I have that up. It gives you a lot of really good information. Shows you the par, the yardage, a lot of other ancillary stats here or facts. And then one thing that I really like is looking at the turf grass and how short they have it cut. Now last week, if I recall, it was 0.13. I suppose we could probably just look at that, right? 0.115. So I was a little off. 0.13 would be a little slow. So 0.115. This is at 0.110, which means these will be faster greens. Shoot, I should actually pull up, now that we can do kind of a one-to-one. Let me go ahead and zoom in a bunch of times. Make it easier for you guys to watch or to look at. Okay, so oh, they had the stimp up here. Do we have the stimp up here? No, we do not. All right, well, either way, we can do it the old school way. So tees, we don't really have to worry about tees, but like the rough was super short. So 3.5 inches. I don't know if it was 3.5 inches. It didn't look like 3.5 inches. Oh, I'm sorry. That was, okay. Yeah, the rough was 1.3 inches long. So the rough will be a little bit thicker here. And it's a bluegrass / fescue mix, which will be kind of thin grass. Like Bermuda grass is a little clumpier. So probably a little, it's probably still easy to hit out of, but it's still going to be thick. Fairways 0.375, we have 0.39, so they're going to be a little bit thicker here, which I don't think that really matters. I think we won't see a lot of roll out here, especially on bent grass. Bent grass do not make it fast because bent grass requires a lot of water, and if you dry them out, you'll lose them faster. So more likely, it's not going to happen. But yeah, faster greens, a little thicker rough, should be interesting. I think around the green is going to matter a little bit more here than it did at the RBC Heritage. Despite in that last preview that we had, we were talking about how I had heard from some of the pros on tour saying that it gets tricky around the greens because of that Bermuda. You have to look at grain and that kind of thing. Well, it didn't really apply. So here, maybe it will a little bit more. Okay, so yeah, the one thing I like to look at is what type of grass it is, and then who the architect is. So we have another Pete Dye golf course. This will be the last one, I think, for the rest of the tournament or rest of the season, unless one of the or it would be the PGA Championship or the US Open if those are being played at a Pete Dye golf course, which I don't think they are. I could be wrong, but either way, this is the last normal event that we'll be playing on Pete Dye. So we want to look at that. We have a par 70 around 6,800 yards. 68, very short. Par 70, we're more likely going to find a bunch of golfers who are going to hit that under 70 bonus, the sub 70 bonus, which is an easy 5 points. I would look for golfers that have, I mean, if you're looking for like low price golfers, I would find low price golfers that don't make many bogeys, but maybe don't make many birdies either. We'll see that with the results coming up. We'll look at that page. Primarily because usually the winning score around this tournament is 12 under. If we're looking for someone who's gonna, like a low price guy that can finish 6th through 10th place, they're probably gonna run around 6 under, 8 under, something like that. So 2 under per day, 2 or 1 under per day, like that would be pretty good. And that would get you an easy 5 points. Plus you get the placement points. We're probably gonna have to rely a little bit more on the placement points. That is one other thing I want to that came to mind for me as I was talking about that. This tournament is being played at its typical time of the year. So RBC last week and the Colonial, the Charles Schwab Classic the week before, they were all played at different times of the year than they typically are. RBC Heritage is usually played around April, and Charles Schwab Classic is usually played in May. So we got those a little bit later, which resulted in pretty benign weather conditions. It was much warmer. Warmer usually it results in grass growing faster, more lush conditions, as well as the ball will travel a little bit further. Winds usually aren't as high as they would be in the spring, so that's why the RBC Heritage was such a low scoring affair. Kind of the same way with Colonial, it wasn't as windy, so the wind did not guard any of the golf courses. So anyways, I would assume that the scoring average for this tournament will be nearly the same, unless for whatever reason, like the pros figured something out during this break to make their scores even lower than they are. I'm going to chalk it up to the weather conditions. I don't think the pros found some like sneaky thing that is going to give them a huge boost. So anyways, par 70, like I said, let's find those scores under 70, get that bonus. Should be easy. 68-41, a pretty short golf course. I mean, like Bubba's won here a bunch of times, so I wouldn't even say like it's a bomber versus an accuracy player. I think we just want to find the right fit. That's about it. Green size 5,000. That's usually average on tour. We don't care about tee size. Going back to the green acreage, or green size, I should say. The bigger they are, I would say, yeah, there is potential for more 3-putts, because if golfers are not accurate and they're finding themselves on the edges of greens, it might be difficult to leg a putt up close. But that's not how I view 3-putts. 3-putts usually come from that 5 to 7 range, 5 foot to 7 foot range that has a lot of undulation. That's what usually, or just tricky greens like Pete Dye greens. So, yeah, maybe the 3-putt possibility is a little bit higher this week than last week because the greens are a little bit bigger, but I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that. So don't worry about that. Other than that, yeah, I suppose we could look at number of water hazards. 5 holes have water in play. So we're not going to see a lot of penalty strokes, caused by water. I'm not worried about bunkers. These are pros. They know how to get out of the bunkers. No problem. So I'm not going to worry about that. I suppose the only other piece of information is the turf took a while to wake up this summer after a very cool spring. So usually that means grass is a little bit more brittle, a little bit more fine. It's not going to be as lush and thick. So the course could play a little easier than usual. And I guess if that's the trend we're going to go at, maybe we look for a score that's a little bit lower than usual. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the spreadsheet. We'll look at the results first. And I told you like a 12 under was that typical round of score, or the typical winning score. That's wrong. 12 under is usually the mark of top 5 finish. We want our winner to be around 15, 16, 17 under. But as I scroll over, you can see all the winning scores. You know, they venture from 12, you know, all the way up to 17. So, or I should say all the way down to 17. So 17 under has been the lowest score in the last 6 years. 12 under is the highest. So yeah, we could probably find someone on 15 or 16 under. And really, it's just looking at golfers that have a good scoring average, that have good course history, that are good on these types of surfaces, and that do well at PTI golf courses. Let's go ahead and look at the course history. I already have this sorted out by golfers in the field. That represents the P over here in the 2020 column. The average, this is obviously their average finishing position at this golf course, so their quote-unquote course history. You can see there's a bunch of golfers here that only have one event under their belt. Go ahead, take a screenshot, just, you know, check this out. Notables: Billy Horschel, Sung Jae Im, Justin Rose, back in 2013 was the last time he played here, and Joaquin Niemann, who played here last year and who is coming off a heater. So I'm going to go and remove golfers who've only golfed here once. I'm also going to scroll down and look at the golfers who are newbies, and just look if we can find anyone that really stands out. Matthew Fitzpatrick, Rafael Cabrera-Bello, Matthew Neesmith, who did really well last week, Doc Redman, Scotty Scheffler. These guys are basically rookies on tour, probably less than 1 year of experience, maybe a little bit more. Danny Willett, Matt Wallace, they're kind of worldwide players that you know, you would either have heard of or just you should have an eye on because they're good. And then Chase Koepka, who just qualified on Monday, which I won't have a price from when we look at the 2020 DK page. So as we're looking at these finishing positions now, Paul Casey, by far away the best golfer here. If you take away his 17th, you know, his outlier finishing position, he has a whopping 3.5 finishing, an average finishing position. Obviously, we got to include that, but I just like doing that for a lot of these golfers that have, you know, one high score with a bunch of low scores. So someone like, I mean, we could take someone out like this finishing position for Kevin Tway, goes down to 12.33, easily the third best average finishing position here. Go ahead and get rid of Charlie Hoffman's missed cut last year, and his goes down to 15.2. It's the fourth best average in the field. We could do the same thing with Bubba Watson. He ends up going down to 19.33. So he has 2 wins here in the last 6 years. He's going to be a favorite by a lot of people. There are a few things that don't match up. I'm going to play some of them, but I'm not going to play a lot. And we'll get through that in the spreadsheet. And we're probably most likely going to get through it in the lineup construction video on Wednesday, but there is something to look at. Jason Day, a missed cut in 2017. Take that away, 12.67. That would be third best in this field. And then one last one, I'll take away Brian Harman. That goes to 24.17. Pretty decent, but didn't really move the scale much. Okay. Not really going to remove any, I guess, Russell Henley. His other 2 finishes then would be 8.5. That's pretty good. And that's all I'm going to do with course history. You guys can go ahead, screenshot this. I should show you one more thing. It's top 10s. So 3 golfers have 3 or better top 10 finishes here. Brian Harman, Bubba Watson, Paul Casey. I'm sure they're going to be they're going to be well owned in this tournament, although we do have another stacked field, so who knows? Maybe Brian Harman kind of goes by the wayside. Probably not. And I don't foresee any of these two golfers losing ownership either. They're probably going to be pretty owned. Yeah. So anyways, screenshot it, pause it, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the recent form. We'll start with the 2019 recent form page. One thing I want you guys to just look at when we go through these is just the course history at the top. As you can see, we want some course history. It looks like the better the course history, the better results that we see, but we can track that as we go through this. Recent form, somewhat the same. It's a little bit better. Orange is like right in the middle. Yellow is good. Light green is best. So we don't see any light green. Obviously, we do at Patrick Cantlay here. But for the other guys here in the top 10, it's just right in the middle. So we don't have to get too carried away with recent form, and we really don't have to get too carried away with course history. But yeah, we'll keep going through this. Now we're seeing a little bit better course history. Obviously, Anirban Lahiri finished 9th in 2018, and then in 2017 in his 17th place finish. That was his course history, so he'd only played here one time before. Paul Casey, not so much. 5th place the year before, 8 for his course history. But now we kind of have more of a fluctuation. We have an 80, 85, some light green, some yellow, some orange. So it's a little bit all over the place. Maybe it's just one of those that we want to find a good average. You know, either go all yellow and orange, so somewhere between that 25 to 35 range or 25 to 45 range course history, or find some golfers that have better than 20 and then mix them with golfers who have worse than 60. Yeah, same thing applies with recent form. Still decent recent form that we're looking for. Not like the greatest, but just recent. Same thing applies here. As you can see, we have some good course history, some bad course history, and then in between, recent form, same thing applies. So it looks like we're finding more of a trend that way than we are any other way. This is 2016, 2015. Looks much the same. Same with recent form, just all over the place. So this is what I would actually say is look, we have a couple golfers that have poor recent form. And as we go through here, we're going to see at least one, that has poor recent form. Don't fade all the golfers that have poor recent form. And then we can also kind of do a step further analysis and just look at their price for a lot of these golfers that have poor recent form. Bubba Watson, Stu Cink, looks like a bunch of guys at $7K. Boo Weekley, $6,900. I don't know what Daniel Berger was, but I bet he was high 7s, maybe mid 7s at best or at worst. But yeah, like look at this recent form, looks good, or in the middle, average, that kind of thing. Same with course history. 2015, same thing applies. Not a lot of golfers that you see that have no course history. Now we're getting closer to 2013, meaning we're going to see a little bit more gaps because we wouldn't have seen a lot of golfers here. But like 2014, look at how many golfers have a last year result. So that means they played the year before. But yeah, recent form, this one kind of edges more towards above average, not under average. So, I should say worse than average. It favors, or it leans that way a little bit more. And then 2013, same thing. So again, we're seeing a bunch of 60s in there. I shouldn't say a bunch, but we're seeing at least one or two. And I think that's something that you want to take into account, honestly. I don't know if I would say so much go and target that. In a way, I kind of am, because that's how you're going to get variation in your lineup. That's how you're going to find volatility, as people so-called proclaim. Yeah. That's just one way to do it. Okay, so that was recent form. Went through that fairly quickly. Let's go ahead and let's look at the 2018-2019 DK page, where I do have some stats down. And basically, we'll go through 2018 first. We're going to look at, basically the top 20. So as I scroll through this, when I get to this last guy down here, that's 20 golfers. So from column 2 over here, or row 2 down to row 21, that's 20 golfers. So we're going to be looking at the top 20 stat of everything that I filter. And we're going to look to see how many guys finished inside the top 20 and top 10. As we go and we look at course history, so now this would be your top 20 in course history. Obviously, we have this sorted by course history, and these are your top 20 golfers in this field. We see 1, 2, 3 golfers who finished inside the top 10, 5 golfers who finished inside the top 20. So just keep that in mind. We'll go ahead and look at recent form. I'm going to actually write this down so we can talk about it later. So we had 3 golfers with course history in the top 20 that finished top 10. Okay. Recent form. We've got 1, 2, 3 guys with recent form or the top 20 recent form finished in the top 10. And out of them, we have 1 golfer who finished inside the top 10 or top 20 for course history. So 2 guys. Yeah, so 2 guys actually share that. So of these guys, we saw Bryson and we saw Paul Casey twice. Or did we? Oh, Bryson's down here. Never mind. What the heck? Oh, 36. I thought I was reading that so different. So we only see 1 golfer. I'm sorry. I apologize. So it's just 1, and that's Paul Casey. All right, so let's go ahead. We don't need to look at last year, last week, but we go overall Pete Dye average. Obviously, Nate Lashley didn't play. And as we look here, we've got 1, 2, 3 golfers yet again, with Paul Casey being one of those other guys, but 3 for Pete Dye. Who else? I know Bo Hauser wasn't. Bubba Watson was not. Yeah, he wouldn't have been for recent form or whatever. So now we have 1 guy that is showing up a bunch of times. But that is your overall Pete Dye. I'm not going to go into the 2018 Pete Dye stats. There weren't enough tournaments. Didn't really care. Let's go ahead and hide this. Let's hide this. Can I get everything? Okay. So I didn't actually have a lot of stats back in 2018. I think I was just starting to get a hang of this and getting into my groove on putting things together. So I don't really have other than the rankings. I guess I could have went into this and changed all these to their actual shot gained metrics. But if I were to filter by this is obviously just going to show you the top 20 in the field. This is their PGA rank coming into the tournament, but as the field, whatever, this again is only sorting by the top 20. So off the tee, we see 1, 2, 3 guys that finished inside the top 10 for shots gained off the tee. And really, Bubba does how many? Okay, so we had Bryson, JB, and Bubba. Pete Dye. Does Bubba show up here? Xander, Paul Casey. No, not Xander, but oh yeah, Bubba was right there. Okay, so Bubba, he's shown up twice now, or I should say 3 times. So now we have 2 golfers basically. One of them has 3 of the stats inside the top 10 or inside top 20 of those stats, and then 1 golfer has 2. So we're seeing a lot of what's it called? Overlap. So we could really pinpoint like our favorite golfer based off of Pete Dye, course history, off the tee, that kind of thing. Greens and reg, Bubba's up there once again, so that makes 4 stats that he was top 20 of. We see Bryson, we see Brian Harman, Stuart Sink. Bryson now shows up a couple times. He showed up for recent form, and that was it, I believe. So we had 4 golfers with green and reg. Let's go ahead and do proximity. We only have 1. That's Stuart Sink, birdie or better. We've got 1, 2, 3. So Paul Casey shows up, Brian Harman shows up, and Bryson shows up. So 3 birdie or better, 1 proximity. Okay. So I mean, we're seeing a lot of the same golfers. We're seeing Paul Casey, we're seeing Bryson DeChambeau, we're seeing Bubba Watson. Yeah, we saw Stu Sink a little bit. There's Stuart Sink again. He showed up a couple times. So really, if we do this and we're paying attention, we're seeing the same golfers over and over again, probably not a bad idea to play them, honestly. So yeah, that was our 2018 spreadsheet. Not a lot there, so didn't really have a lot to talk about, but definitely wanted to show you. I'm not going to go into the bucket system. That will be, I'll reserve that for the lineup construction video. But we'll go ahead and now get into the 2019 DK page. Where now I have a little bit more information. So again, we have course history, recent form, but obviously now I put tee times in there. I put odds. I'm actually going to hide all of this, so we can get right to here. Okay, so now this is a little bit more of how I create spreadsheets right now, is adding how many Pete Dye events that these stats take into account. Overall Pete Dye, top 10%, Pete Dye, 2019 Pete Dye. I'm not going to really look at that, so we're going to go ahead and hide that. And then we have all of our POA events, so we'll definitely take looks at that. Okay, so as you can see, first through 20, take a screenshot, pause this, look at this. We're gonna get right into it. Course history, your top 20 golfers in course history. We see 4 golfers inside the top 10. So it's looking like we want at least 4 golfers inside the top 20 for course history as we look back at the last couple of years. Recent form average. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 yet again. So that would be recent form. Go through Pete Dye now. Your top 20 Pete Dye golfers. We have 1, 2, and that's it. We only have 2 golfers for Pete Dye. Top 20 Pete Dye golfers. I finished inside the top 10. Sure, we have a couple 15s and 13s, but that's not good enough. So we're not going to worry about that. Just want to see what this looks like. See if it really matters if we go over it. Fleetwood, 57%, finding the top 10. Just missed out. Same with Cantlay. KH Lee. Harman did, though. Jason Day did as well. Okay. We'll go ahead and look at overall POA. So this is the top 20 POA splits. And as you can see, the top guy won the tournament. That was Paul, or not won the tournament, sorry. Got 5th place. So Paul Casey, Jason Day, they're your top 10s. We have Keegan down here. So we have 3 POA golfers. Did we have that last time? I think I'm missing that on mine. Oh, I didn't have grass stats. That's right, in my last one. Okay, so there we go. We have 3 POA now. Again, we should be paying attention to overlap. So hopefully you guys, maybe, I mean, I'm guessing Paul Casey and Jason Day were up there. Paul Casey, Jason Day. So there's a little overlap with Pete Dye and POA. And I'm sure course history, we're going to see Paul Casey up there as well. I don't see Jason Day, Reeve, Paul Casey, and Jason Day with recent form. So that's all adding up right now. That's definitely things that we should be considering. Okay, so that's all of our grass stats. I'm not going to worry about 2019 POA, but I guess it's interesting. Paul Casey, again, Jason Day, just giving you more reason. Ches Reeve, the winner, just giving you more reason to be looking at POA splits. We'll go ahead and hide this now. I think I can just hide all the way up to here. So now we're getting into the stats, and there we go. I finally have it by the metric, so this is going to be nice for you guys to look at. All right, so this is your top 20 tee to green golfers. We have Paul Casey, Keegan, Ches, Joaquin, Jason Day. So we have 5 golfers tee to green. We can look at off the tee. That was a stat that we looked at last time because I believe in 2017 I must have heard that off the tee mattered. We have Paul Casey, Jason Day, Abraham Ancer, Bryson DeChambeau. So 4 golfers. So that would be 3 and 4 from, I mean, respectively in the last one. So that's off the tee. We can look at approach. I don't remember if we had approach on here before. No, we just had greens and reg. But as we can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 golfers with approach and a lot of overlap, as you can see. We have Paul Casey, Joaquin Niemann shows up, Ches Reavie showing up. His tee to green stats were good. And obviously the guys in the dark green, that's, I shouldn't say obviously, but that is the top 20. I have this sorted by color now. Dark green, top 20. And another thing to also notice is, like, look at all these guys that are top 20 for these other stats. Brooks Koepka, 57th place. Emiliano Grillo, 60th. Justin Thomas, 36th. Jason Kokrak, 85th. So you just have to pick the right players. You know, it's not going to be super simple, but what I'm trying to show you is to avoid grabbing 6 players inside the top 20, because it's not going to do you any good. I guess you could make the argument, like, finding some cheap guys here, you know, they're not going to hurt you. They made the cut, but I don't think that's good enough, honestly. That's not how I'm creating lineups. Around the green, did it matter? We only have 1 around the green. Putting, does that matter? We had 2, Jason Day, Vaughn Taylor. So Vaughn Taylor I have not seen show up in any of these other stats. Putting is the first one. Green and reg, so we had that stat before. Your top 20 in green and reg, we have 3 total golfers that inside the top 20 for green and reg, finding the top 10 at this tournament in 2019. Proximity, we see a lot. We see like first through 6, basically. That's impressive. So we have 5 golfers with proximity. Impressive. I mean, there's Ches again. Ches shows up not only in proximity, but approach, tee to green. Definitely something to consider or to look into. We had Abraham Ancer off the tee as well as proximity. That's not a bad combination to have. Not saying that that works with everybody, because obviously Russell Knox didn't play. But there's Keegan Bradley, so it almost kind of proves differently. So you guys can see that a little bit better. Yeah, proximity with off the tee, not a bad little combination. I mean, Lucas Glover missed the cut, so again, take it with a grain of sand. Birdie or better, top 20 birdie or better golfers. We see only 2 finishing inside the top 10 who end up being in the winning lineup. So birdie or better is, I actually thought was going to be a better stat than what I'm looking at. So okay. And that is your 2019 DK page. I'm not going to go into it anymore. You guys can always go back, pause it, screenshot it, take that information for yourself. I don't have this spreadsheet available for you guys, not just yet. So, yeah, you know, I'm obviously presenting it for you guys to take a look at it. So let's take all that information and apply it to the 2020 DK page and see what we like. What do we have filtered out? Oh, just the hold ones that I have. Okay. So let's go ahead and just hide all of this information. We don't really need to look at salary. Not a huge deal. So we're looking at course history. When we go through this, I would just say keep your eye on the last row to see what that value is, 26.83. So when we go to recent form, I don't have this color coded like I do for the other things. But yeah, as you can see, we would want to just to double check, take a look, 26.83, just see if we can find anyone that shows up once again. But there we have Paul Casey, somebody I'd definitely be looking into. Sergio, Rory, I mean, Justin Rose is up there. Kevin Tway in the last couple tournaments. Bryson DeChambeau, this is a tournament that he usually does well at. And then there's Keegan as well. So course history for those guys obviously show up. They're good. We have Sung Jae. I don't have anyone else that I'm going to talk about. But recent form. So recent form, if we went to the 2020 recent form page, we obviously, these 5 tournaments, well, yeah, these 5. It's 6, but really it's these 5 weeks. these happened such a long time ago that I only go back this last 7 weeks when I do my recent form. So really, we wouldn't have anything past these two that we can incorporate. But I added all of these because, in all reality, the last two tournaments prove that some of the guys that had good recent form, even in the tournaments that were, 4 months ago, I mean, all combined together, it worked out. So I do want to keep it here, and definitely as we progress a little bit further into the season, a lot of these tournaments will be phasing out. We'll get a couple more, so we'll get a better idea of recent form. But like Bryson DeChambeau is coming in with the best recent form dating back to the Genesis Invitational. I mean, we haven't seen Patrick Cantlay in forever. Again, Genesis was last time. I heard he was recovering from an injury. I'm not positive on that, but if that's the case, I mean, maybe play him with a little caution. Yeah, I'm not going to go through this. We'll go through it on the spreadsheet, but just wanted to show you why we kind of have to take the recent form thing with a grain of salt, because it's incorporating things that go back 4 months ago. But yeah, take a look. Course history, what was that number we're looking at? Was it 26? At 26.83. So really, we only see one overlapping guy. That'd be Bryson. I suppose we see Rory, who's another overlapping. Paul Casey. And that's it. So it's just those three golfers that overlap. So really what we're doing is we're kind of like, we're narrowing down our favorite golfer of the tournament between Bryson, Rory, and Paul Casey. I mean, I am more privy to the last week one than I am a 4 or a 5, and we'll get into that in the lineup construction. So really kind of leaning towards Paul Casey. Go and look at Pete Dye. Finishing position. Scotty Scheffler only has one event under his belt, so that 3 is a little deceiving. Same with Matthew Naismith. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and take those guys out and look at the rest of them. So there we go. We got Rory once again. So Rory is just like in the 2018 spreadsheet. Rory's overlapping a lot. And obviously it's because he's a really good golfer. So that's no surprise. Cantlay would show up because obviously that 17 recent form average. Sergio's going to show up because of his course history. So that's another overlap. Same with Justin Rose and Paul Casey. Theirs are going to overlap. Again, Justin Rose hasn't played since 2013. So we have to keep that in mind. Bryson DeChambeau obviously overlaps. Kevin Kisner overlaps with course history and Pete Dye average. So does Ryan Moore. So we see a couple more guys down there. Let's go ahead and look at POA. So POA is going to matter. I'm going to go ahead and just reselect everybody here because I don't want that to be, an issue whatsoever. As we look at POA average here, again, I'm going to probably get rid of these golfers that have very little POA averages. Or not averages, but starts, events played, and look at the rest of them. There you go. Rory once again. Paul Casey again. Now Jon Rahm shows up. Patrick Cantlay shows up. Justin Rose once again. So I guess let me highlight all these guys so you guys, can take into account all this information. I don't see Bryson up here for POA. Keegan shows up. I mean, he was, I guess course history. I want to say there was another thing, but maybe not. Sergio also appears. He was my thumbnail because I do like him this week to place top 5. If not win the tournament. But yeah, I mean, obviously, look, the rest of these golfers, really good golfers. I mean, Brooks, Tony Finau, Jordan Spieth, Collin Morikawa, Patrick Reed, Justin Thomas. A lot of good golfers with POA. So take that into account. I guess we can look at the 2020 POA, but since 2 tournaments were canceled, we really only have 3 tournaments that we can go with. Actually, 2 tournaments to go with. This is the 3rd one we can count. In prior years, you would have 4 POA events already under these golfers' belts that you can look a little bit more into this and decipher who you like a little bit better. but we don't this year. But here you go. You got Rory, Bryson, Rahm shows up now. Cantlay. Just trying to find the golfers we've been seeing over and over and over again that also date back to course history, recent form. I suppose Kevin Kisner then also repeats or overlaps. So yeah, not bad golfers. I'm going to go ahead and hide this information and now bring up a lot of this meat stuff. I'm going to go ahead and hide some of these columns because they're not really relevant. Like, it shows you how many attempts or how many holes that these guys have under their belt that determine these stats, just so you don't look at it and scratch your head and go, why? Why is that? Why does that matter? Why is that important? That kind of thing. When I sort this, we're going to see golfers that don't have a lot. I mean, they don't have enough tournaments under their belt for them to gain PGA stats. So go ahead, take note of the players. Really, there's no namers. Charles Schwartzel, that's about it. I'm not going to be concerned with the rest of them. So here we go. Tee to green, your top guy, your top 20 guys here. I'm not really going to talk a lot about them. Paul Casey, Jon Rahm, Tony Finau, Patrick Cantlay, Bryson DeChambeau, Sergio, Rory. These are all golfers that we've already seen in tops of the other stats. So there we go with our overlap once again. I think we could probably find a pretty good core of players, thinking about that, or starting our lineups with, those foundational pieces. Off the tee, we saw quite a bit. We had 3 guys off the tee in 2017, or in the top 20 of that stat that finished top 10 in the tournament. We had 4 in 2019, I should say. So definitely off the tee is a big thing. And again, we see a lot of overlap. I mean, you guys can take a look at that. We have some pretty good golfers. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to fit all those guys in a lineup together, but we can certainly start a lot of our lineups off pretty decent. Approach. Now, we saw how much in approach? We saw 4 golfers last year in the top 20 approach, finished inside the top 10. Go ahead, screenshot it. Look, Cantlay, Casey, McIlroy. I guess we can count Abraham Answer. Xander again shows up quite a bit. Not so much with like Pete Dye stats, but yeah, something to keep in mind. Around the green stats, again, we weren't really that dedicated to this. But if you want, here you go. Here are your top 20. Pause it, screenshot it. It's for you guys. Putting. Again, we didn't see a lot of putting, so it's not a stat I'm really going to be looking at. Again, screenshot, all that stuff. Greens in reg. So we saw 4 in 2017. Or 2018. I'm sorry, I keep saying 2017. 2018, and I don't remember how many. I think we saw 4 or 5 in 2019. So, I mean, you could find a lot of your golfers here. We have Cantlay, we have Schauffele, Webb, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau, Paul Casey yet again. So, there's enough, I think, here that'll give you some good information. Proximity. So proximity, we had 5 last year and only 1 in 2018. So it's a little bit more of a crapshoot. But if you can find those overlapping golfers, like, definitely take those golfers into consideration. So like JT, I guess Russell shows up. So does Webb Simpson, Sung Jae, I guess. I don't know. I'm not gonna be too worried about that. And then birdie or better, we didn't see a lot. We had 2 last year, which I don't know exactly what that means. I'm not sure if I'm going to fully follow that. I'm definitely going to be looking at bucket system a little bit more than these stats. But yeah, I mean, something for you guys to think about looking to. Driving distance, this is for more or less after when we review how this tournament went. And then for next year when we see, did any of these stats matter? I mean, that's kind of all I have them here right now for. I guess bogey avoidance is something that I might look into a little bit. I mean, I want golfers who aren't making a lot of bogeys here, so I can get that sub 70 bonus, as well as just birdie bonuses. But yeah, you could find a lot of golfers that overlap here with a lot of the other stats that we were looking at. It's not difficult. I mean, a lot of these guys are elite players, but let's try to find those course history guys, you know, that go with these other stats. So obviously I have this already by top 10 of those stats, or of birdie or better. So, you know, Bryson, course history and recent form. Pete Dye, I don't think that was the top Pete Dye, but not bad. Rory McIlroy. Patrick Cantlay is really close, but that's not going to get it done. So yeah, I mean, it kind of goes down to Bryson and Rory. And they're the two top priced guys. So maybe DraftKings already knows this kind of thing and is like, yeah, they are the two best golfers in this field. But again, those are just those stats. You know, there are many other stats that we went through. We saw a lot of Patrick Cantlay. Who else did we see a lot of? I mean, we saw a lot of Patrick Cantlay, we saw a lot of Bryson DeChambeau, and we saw a lot of Paul Casey. And I suppose a lot of Rory. We saw a lot of them, you know. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, you're gonna have to find the right guy, honestly, obviously, but you're gonna have to find the right combination of golfers. This is your top POA stats. Like, it's difficult. Maybe we can find a little bit of a little something that takes away from some of those guys. I suppose what I could do, let's do this. This is a little different. I've never done this on a preview show before. But let's go less than or equal to, I believe it was 26, but we'll go 20. Here, let me look at the winners over the last couple of years. 39, 29, none, 37, 17, and then nothing. Okay, so 39. We'll go ahead, filter under 39. Let's just do 40. Make it an even 40. And we'll just go less than 40. We can do the same thing when we go to recent form. 62, yikes. All right. So, all right, I'm going to change this already. We're trying to get like really low. So 28 is what I'm going to have it at. Less than 28. We're going to have our recent form average less than, I guess when we took a lot of those other golfers out, took out a lot. So 33.6. So we're going to go 35. Okay, we'll start here. No, we're going to leave recent form out of it, actually. No. Nope. We're going to do this. We're going to find all of the low ends. So 39. 39. So 39, 39. 35. Okay. So that's how we're going to do this. We're going to select all. Go less than or equal to 39. Or I should say 40. Again, we'll go less than 40. And then we'll go less than 40 here. That took out a lot. Wow. And then what was this one? Less than 35? Let's go 36. I don't remember what it was. And then this is less than 28. We're down to 2. Rory McIlroy and Paul Casey. I don't know if I need to go any further than that, but that was pretty interesting. That was fun to do, honestly. Now, it does matter how I do this. Like, if I was to get rid of this now, we're going to open one more. So now we get Bryson if we take Poa out of it. If we take Pete Dye out of it, we get one more. We get Sung Jae. If we take Recent Form out of it, it opens up a bunch, which is fine. Like, we do want to target some of these guys down here. And I shouldn't so much say target, but be comfortable playing some of these guys down here. Especially these guys that have really good course history. I hit the back button, bring those guys back, and we get rid of course history. How many guys do we have left? Quite a bit still. Okay. I mean, that was kind of a fun little experiment. I think these are the 4 guys that I think we can choose from and feel comfortable. It really just makes me like Paul Casey that much more at 8,900. Like, it just, who knows how he's going to come back and play, but this, I don't know, this gives me a lot of confidence in playing him. I'll probably play some Paul Casey with Rory and with Bryson, just because it just feels right to do. And then obviously put some Sung Jae with some of those guys. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna start doing, is just start creating lineups that act that way, or that are like that. Yeah, this video is what, 51 minutes long. Went through a lot of good stuff. We'll go through the note stuff when it comes around to the lineup construction. But I suppose I'm kind of going all over the place. I have nothing else to say. I have nothing else to go over. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you in lineup construction video on Wednesday. All right, bye.